of my job status, devoid of my job status and my marital status, I think I would consider myself to be a compassionate person, a soft-hearted, kind-hearted person who values manners and respect and the importance of keeping time. I am spontaneous, I am structured, I'm firm, but I love the world of building people, seeing the potential in people and supporting them to get where they want to go. And of course, God made me a woman. I'm not he, she, they, or it. I am a woman. I am she, and I consider that to be a super special blessing.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. So we are going to go right into this very exciting, and I actually call it interesting session, because you talk about the toolkit for the female journey, the toolkit for the female journey. What is this toolkit for the female journey? What exactly is it?
I love that question, Dr. Brooks, because you know what? The toolkit is not a secret, but it is a treasure. It is something that I have discovered over the years after navigating life's meanders. It's a kit that I didn't get all packed and covered. I had to pick up the tools along the way. And so I would be very happy if, as I traveled my journey and had the various flat tires and various people joining the bus and getting off, I would have been happy to have a guide. And so the toolkit is my gift that God has laid on my heart to say, listen, what can you do for others who are traveling the path you have traveled? And you can be that support for them in a world like this. And my generation requires real. So I think the toolkit is very practical and it's very accessible because it's not necessarily tangible or physical, but it's definitely accessible to other women.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. You know, as you talked about the toolkit, I'm here thinking that, is there a toolkit in my car? I honestly don't know if there's one in there. I believe there is one in there, but I honestly don't know. So I want to ask you this question. How did you come up with that idea of this toolkit? And while you tell us how you came up with the idea, tell us just 4 things that are in that toolkit, so we don't keep anybody in suspense anymore.
Oh, I can imagine they're wondering what's in the toolkit. Well, see, life is a promise. Life, or rather, life will, as a promise, kick us to the curb. And I think it's Les Brown who said it, that life gives us blind spots. And on those blind spots, I've learned that during the journey of singleness, of marriage, of motherhood, of divorce, of single parenting, and all of this taking place alongside a productive and treacherous career journey, I'm going to need things like self-awareness. That's in the toolkit. I'm going to need a PAP, that is the personal action plan for my life. I'm going to need to be able to set up boundaries. And you asked for 4, so I'll just give you one more. We need a supportive circle. Now, none of those things are tangible, but they're oh so necessary for us to survive. And we started, my journey as a woman is going to move me to want to help other women. But I dare say that God made male and female for a reason. And men form a very important part of the supportive network that we need in order to get the space for the family, for our friends, for our children, for our husbands, for our spouses, whatever category you find yourself in. You're impacted, you're nurtured by a woman, and this woman needs all of these in her toolkit.
Wonderful. I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you came in after we started, we're actually talking with Miss Elisea Ellis, who is sharing with us this toolkit for the female journey. And not because it says for the female journey, it's for the men who love them as well, so
There we
that
go.
the men can know what it is that is in the toolkit. And if they see that the woman or the female is leaving out anything, they can say, hold on, you're leaving this out of your toolkit. So you talked about self-awareness. You mentioned that as the first one in the toolkit. So I want to, why is self-awareness important in the toolkit for women? Why is that self-awareness or self-acceptance very important to be in that toolkit for female?
Okay, Dr. Brooks, you know how you asked me, the first thing you asked me was to introduce myself. And I didn't tell you that I was a mother. I didn't tell you that I was a principal. I didn't tell you all my church affiliations and so on. I told you about the qualities within me. And so very often we are defined by our roles in the workplace. We're defined by the mothers that we are. But when our children are gone, the question is, who are we? We have to get to know ourselves again. When I'm no longer principal, when I'm no longer counselor, when I'm no longer that top executive, who am I? Do I know? And so I have discovered that I have to know who I am in a naked way, devoid of all these accolades. And so it's a question of, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my opportunities? What are my threats? We do SWOT analysis at work. We do SWOT analysis in projects. But the most important is our lives, and we need to have the SWOT on that. So being self-aware is knowing that when you step into the room, you may choose somebody to sit at the table who is directly opposite in terms of the qualities that you have, because you want to be balanced and you know that your strength is not what that person has to offer. It's being able to see somebody better than yourself and seeing them as a complement to who you are rather than as a competition. You know what I'm saying? And also making the space for yourself to be vulnerable. It's okay not to be like Dr. Brooks, you know? It's okay not to have the same qualities, but what I do have is valuable at the table. And I'm not afraid to serve me. I'm not afraid to bring me to the table, because I am aware of what I'm bringing and I'm aware of how to counteract what comes to me based on the SWOT. Does that make sense?
Oh, that was indeed powerful. The awareness of self. That is indeed powerful, Miss Ellis, because so many, not just women, not just female, but both men and women are not aware of who they are. That SWOT that you talked about is so, so, so important. Thank you so much for that. So as women, and I'm going to, I say as women, but I know your toolkit says female. But as women, we love to talk about high value. But value in self is not just a little different, it's different from just high value. What do you think it is so important for women to value self?
You know, our generation and our postmodern society does not do a very good job of balancing the importance of self-worth as against selfishness. And so when we talk about high value and knowing our value, we are really saying to ourselves, we are not comfortable accepting everything or anything that we are given. We know our self-worth, and we don't allow persons to erode it by virtue of who they are, be it family, etc. Because sometimes we have lethal loyalty, and whatever our friends and family hand to us, because it is our friends and family, we tend to just take it. When you value yourself, you have the proactive approach of depositing emotionally in yourself, building you. And that may mean that, listen, when I go in front of the mirror this morning, I'm going to say, Elisea, you are Black and you are beautiful. You have what it takes to take on today, girl. Even when I don't feel like it, For me, emotional valuing myself means that when I feel the worst, I'm dressing up as the best, because I'm not only dressing the part, dressing for success, but I'm expecting success. And so when I deposit emotionally in me, when I step outside and somebody hinges on my boundary, I have the strength to push back because I know I have value. When I came to Jamaica for holiday and I asked the price for something, I kept saying, how much is this in dirhams? That's UAE currency. And then I was saying, okay, if this is $5,000 for a meal, all right, how much would I normally pay just to get the value of it? And sometimes I pay much more than I would have paid elsewhere because I did not check the value of it. And so I spent more than I wanted. Now, if we don't recognize our value, we are going to spend more of ourselves on things that are not worth it. And I hasten to say that if I value myself, I will not experience social and emotional inflation, because the value of my dollar, the value I place on myself, will be worthy of what I spend on it. So I think that encapsulates what I view as a toolkit item in terms of valuing self.
Wow, that was really some potent points there. Valuing self, the real value that you put on yourself, and no one else can do that for you.
That's right.
You're gonna have to do that for yourself. Thank you so much for bringing out those potent points. We're talking about the female journey toolkit. Female journey toolkit. So earlier you talked about something else that is in the kit, and you talked about the PAP. And in health, especially for women, we talk about we're doing a PAP test.
Yeah.
Yes, but on this journey, a PAP is not what we do in the health arena. It is even more critical, even though that one is critical, but this is even more critical for women to talk about this piece of tool in their toolkit. Talk to us about this PAP that the women must have in their toolkit.
Dr. Brooks, when I was putting this toolkit together, I never even thought about the whole idea of a pap smear, which is a very feminine test. So it's quite funny that we should have to use this here. But pap in the toolkit represents my personal action plan, your personal action plan. So as we do our SWOT analysis, we realize where we are. And as individuals, it's so important to make note of targets that we want for ourselves, goals we have for ourselves. And at the beginning of each year, I'm sure you too would have put together some goals that you want to achieve. But we ask, are these goals time bound? Can you monitor them? What are the things that you need to get there? What are the weaknesses in your SWOT that you would want to work on? And so when I am in a dark place, when don't feel like I want to pray, I tend to journal my prayer to God. And some of the things that I write down are in prayer form to Him. But then if you also walk into my house, you will notice that I have a big sign as you enter that says, "Thank you, God, for one, two," and those are things that He has not yet given to me, but that I expect Him to give. And I promise you, I kid you not, every single one of them He has granted me. Not because I am worthy, but because He's just so good. And so the personal action plan is your trajectory to where you want to go as a person, how you want to develop yourselves. Supposing that as a female, you want to exercise some more, you want to take off some weight. Perhaps it is that you want to develop your communication skills with others. You may want to build a family relationship. You may want to step back in your home and allow your children or your husband to take charge of a few things. How do you communicate that? And are you asking yourselves the question when you go through challenges, God, what are you teaching me today? What do you want me to know? How do you want me to develop? What is your purpose? Because ideally, the millions of sperms that are released that meets one egg, one sperm to an egg, believe it or not, other sperms could have been the ones to permeate that egg. But the one that created you and the one that created me was done for a purpose, because there's something to be done in this world that could not have been done by anyone else. And hence God unveiled that privilege upon each one of us. So when we talk about our personal action plan, it's a perusal, it's a pursuing of the purpose that we were created for, and a monitoring of how it is that we get there. And as we get there, we exercise grace toward ourselves. Because let me tell you something, as females, if and when we're exercising grace, we tend to do it to others, to our children, to our spouses. But when it comes to ourselves, we are last on the list, if we make it on the list. And so this action plan is a proactive and intentional move to get us on the journey that we need to go.
Wow, wow, wow. As a matter of fact, Miss Ellis, you are dropping some things in this room, because that personal action plan is actually our life.
Yes,
Everything is in that path.
yes, yes,
Whether it
yes.
starts from our creator, our purpose, our everything is packed into that path right there. And I love it. I love it. The personal action plan, whether you are a male or a female, we need it for our
Yes.
life. We all need it. Thank you for that. And as we move along, because we're going to be leaving at least 15 minutes or so for the audience to ask questions. And if you have questions and comments at this time, we do want you to remember that we use the chat a lot in this room. So go ahead and put your questions or comments in the chat so that we can take them at the end of the session. So women sometimes find it hard to say no. And that sometimes put them in the space of being like a weaker vessel, or have weaker boundaries. So you also did mention about setting up boundaries, which is one of the tools in the toolkit. Talk to us about why creating and maintaining boundaries are so critical for life, especially for women. And why did you add this to the toolkit among so many other things that you could add?
All right, so I plead the fifth. I'm going to be very vulnerable. And I'm going to tell you, Dr. Brooks, that I fell prey a lot to not having boundaries. And sometimes when some things happen to me, and they happened repeatedly, I did not understand why. And there were times when I internalized it and said to myself, no, something is wrong with me. Why these things by different people keep happening to me? It is a reflection of what something inside of me. So boundaries are important. Saying no is a big deal, and that far transcends the verbal no. It means asking ourselves a question: how much will we allow people to disregard our core values? And we know it is a core value because it irritates us when they do it. It makes us uncomfortable. And we have to believe that we value, there we go again with the whole idea of value. We value the things that propel us forward, and we allow people to recognize what these values are. And therefore, when they have to deal with us, they treat it with respect. That's saying no. Saying no is also asking the question: how do I manage my thoughts and say no to negative thinking? Because naturally, because of what we've been exposed to in this world, we are going to overthink as women. We are going to think about things that are around us, and it's not necessarily the truth. So we have to hold captive the thought. When we recognize that it is getting out of hand, it is wearing us out, we're losing sleep. No, 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 no. We need to say no to those thoughts, because thoughts are parents and the feelings are the children. So if we allow negative thoughts to continue enveloping our mind, the feelings are going to follow. And that is something that we have to cut off, speak to ourselves and say, no, I deserve it. No, I am worth sitting at the table. No, I deserve better. No, I know I can do it. With God, all things are possible. So it's saying no to negative thinking and recognizing that when we stop it there, we are taking captive the thoughts and preventing our feelings from just releasing high, low, over there, under there. If we can capture our feelings, we can prevent feelings of suicide, feelings of depression, all those things. And we can redirect it into something that is positive and find means and solutions of dealing with our present moment. Saying no also means putting the right people in the right places. So I know in terms of my own ministry for the women next door, the female journey, in my circle for that would be Dr. Marcia, right? But I know that Dr. Brooks is just somebody I run and exercise with. She's not somebody I'm going to share my career aspirations with. There are those who I am going to be playing dominoes with or playing netball with. There are some who I'm going to go to the emancipation celebration and just laugh. While there are others, I'm just going to sit at the fireside. We eat some corn and we say, how you go again? Sail fast, sip sail fast. How many cars? All right. So we need to know which room to put people in. Not everybody deserves to be in the same room. Not everybody can handle what we will unleash or serve in a particular room. And therefore, we look at Jesus. He had 12 disciples. And he knew John the Beloved different from Judas the betrayer. He put them in two different rooms. He knew their purpose and he loved them anyway, but he put boundaries on them. He put the boundaries on them. So we are going to need to know what circles to put who in. Does that make sense?
That's a whole session right there, just that. Because
Yes.
when I think about it, I said, no is a full sentence and yes is also a full sentence. No explanation needed. And that is where those boundaries are so critical to our lives. Sometimes it's no, sometimes it's yes. Thank you so much for that. As we hurry along, we want to talk about a little bit because with all of these things in the toolbox, we talk about the self-awareness, we talk about the path, we talk about the setting up the boundaries, we talk about when to sit at the table, when to sit at the fireside. We talk about all of these things. And yet there are some women who are saying, or maybe saying to themselves, whether they're listening now or they could be listening later when it's on the YouTube or on the different network, but I don't have the support to help me to get there. And women do need a supportive network. Not saying that men don't need that network of support as well. But how do women develop this network when they are always the ones on the go? They are always the ones taking care of everybody else. How do they set up this supporting network to make sure that they don't fall prey to all of the other things?
Thank you for that. Very insightful question, Dr. Brooks, because we are always on the go. And can I just say, we can develop that by recognizing or seeing it as that little note that you write to someone who is running too fast, but you need them to get the message anyway. So you pass it along to every person in the row until it gets to them and they finally open it and see it. But by then, as women, we've gone through so many things already. And so it's going to take one of those hard knocks in life to stop us and recognize that, listen, I can't do it on my own. It's a basic lesson in building relationships. It means that as women, we have to stop and we have to recognize that our family matters. I think I was listening to a program with you guys sometime last week, and it was said by yourself and Dr. Marcia that when our families are gone, when our children are gone, we still have to find life. And so the support network is about when we are in the moment, we are mindful. So in the home, does my son know that he can come and say something to me and I'll always be there and not judge him? So when it's my time, he will want to listen. Can he depend on mommy to be there? Does my family know that they can do that? If I'm in a community circle, who are the people that I can call and ask, are you okay? And create a safe space for them so that in turn, by what I have modeled, they see that I am genuine and they are able to reciprocate where needs be. What about the workspace? Am I mindful there or am I just going from 8 to 4, going from 9 to 5? Every opportunity we get to meet someone, we must make a positive impact in their lives. And so my tagline in building support is that whatever circle I find myself in, I must leave a positive impact. Maybe it's an encouraging word. Maybe it's, how can I help you? Maybe it's taking a number and sending a message from time to time, depending on the need of the person. So unfortunately, Dr. Brooks, as women, we can be the most devious to each other. But I still believe in my heart that God made us as nurturers. And the nurturing is not just for men and children. It is for each other. It is for each other. So when we lay that foundation in building support, then when we are in need of this support, we will have someone somewhere to call on. And that someone is not necessarily a woman. That someone is not necessarily a family member, but that someone has seen what we're about, values our friendship, and feels like they need to be there for us in this. Yes, man, iron really does sharpen iron. Thank you, Janet.
Wonderful. We are in the room here, and I can tell you we're feeling some heat at the fireside here because Miss Ellis is really sharing the toolkit for the female journey. And this is not just for the female, it is also for the male who loves the female, because each one needs the other. You can catch them up if they are falling behind. She talked about self-awareness is something that is in the kit. She talked about the PAP, which is the personal action plan. She talked about setting up your boundaries and the supportive network. So as we come down to the last few minutes of our session, those were some critical pieces of tool for the toolbox. Are there any other tools that you believe that women should have in their toolkits?
Thank you, Dr. Brooks. There are two more that I think is very important. The first one is intentional career progression. So women should be very deliberate about their career plan. They shouldn't just switch a job just because they've been fired or because they got redundant. Always have a plan. Never sit in a space too long to plateau and then depend on your employee to decide your future. Have a plan, have a trajectory, and always be on the lookout for how you can improve yourself. And finally, I believe that we were all made with the gene to serve each other. And so giving back is a big part of the toolkit. When you have learned the lessons, when you have managed to maneuver the rough side of the mountain, the highs and altitude of the mountain, then you need to look down, take your hand and pull somebody up. Give back so that this kind of thing can be reciprocated and people can benefit from the lessons that you have learned in the form of wisdom rather than experiencing them for themselves.
Wow. So you have just explained to us two other pieces of tools that makes a huge difference as well in the toolkit. Very, very power-packed toolkits you have given us here tonight. I love it. I totally love it. And I want to repeat the things again because they are so critical. And I'm going to ask you to repeat what is in this toolkit. And every female and the male who love them should know what should be in this toolkit. Repeat the toolkit items again for us.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Brooks. So in the toolkit for the female journey, ladies, you need self-awareness. You need your environmental awareness. You need to value yourself intentionally. You need to develop your career progression. And every year you remember pap smear, remember your pap. That's your personal action plan. Then you want to create and maintain boundaries. You want to develop a supportive network and never forget, we are built for giving back. So let's give back.
Wow, 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 wow. I'm not even sure if there is anything that is left out of that toolkit because when we think about it, that self-awareness covers half of our life.
Yeah.
And then you come back with the personal action plan. And then you come back with other things like setting, oh, that's our entire life right there. Let's just put it out there. That's our life. Excellent toolkit that you have built right there. I just love it. So if anyone is in this room or hear this conversation at a later date and they want to say, you know, I need this this lady to really help me to build my toolkit, or you know, help my church group, help my school group, help my women's group, or whatever, how can people contact you?
All right. Thank you, Dr. Brooks. I can be contacted at the_female_journey on Instagram. Coming up in a few short months will be the YouTube channel called The Female Journey. But right now, you can go onto Instagram at the_female_journey. That's where you can reach me right now. And you can also see not just toolkit items, but other areas of exploration in terms of supporting women and helping women to get mentorship and coaching for the issues that they're having, therapy, all of that as they maneuver the vicissitudes of life.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. We want to thank you so much, Miss Ellis. This was indeed, I use this word powerful so often because it is probably one of the top words when something really comes home to you. Potent conversation we had here tonight about this toolkit, a learning session, a growing session, a session where you were able to build others. We want to thank you so much again for that. And we're going to be opening up the audience because I personally do believe that there are many questions that our audience would want to ask of you tonight while they are packing their toolkit. While they are packing that toolkit, not to leave anything out. So thank you so much.